Single dad millionaire finds bride chained in the forest. What he does next will shock. The forest air was crisp and alive with the sense of pine and damp earth. Birds chirped in the canopy above, while the soft crunch of boots on soil echoed quietly through the trees. Noah, a man in his mid-30s with a strong jawline softened by the kindness in his eyes, was helping his 8-year-old daughter Lily set up their modest campsite on the edge of a secluded forest reserve. The place was peaceful, far from the noise of the city, and perfect for their weekend escape from the weight of the world. Lily, bright-eyed and full of life, dashed through the underbrush, her laughter trailing like wind chimes in the breeze. "Daddy, look at this bug," she exclaimed, holding up a tiny creature on her finger. Noah smiled warmly, ruffled her curly hair, and nodded with a hum of approval. "Just don't wander too far, okay, Peanut?" he said, keeping his voice light but his eyes cautious. While Lily skipped ahead, Noah knelt to adjust a tent pole. That was when he heard it, faint, almost blending with the rustling leaves. A voice. It was not the cry of an animal or the song of a bird. It was human, weak and wavering, a soft, desperate plea. He stood still, the hair on the back of his neck rising. The forest seemed to pause with him. He heard it again, clearer this time. "Help!" Noah straightened up, his instincts kicking in. "Lily, stay close," he called, then turned toward the direction of the sound. He moved carefully, brushing past low-hanging branches, the undergrowth tugging at his jeans. The voice guided him deeper into the forest until he came to a small clearing shrouded in shadow, the sunlight barely piercing through the thick canopy. There, against the gnarled trunk of an old oak, was a woman. She was slumped, her white dress dirtied and torn, stark against the dark soil. It took Noah a second to register what he was seeing. She was in a wedding dress, her arms pulled awkwardly behind her, chains clinked softly with every movement. Her wrists and ankles were bruised, raw and bleeding. Strands of her dark hair clung to her tear-streaked face. Her eyes, wide and terrified, met his. "My God!" Noah muttered, rushing forward. He dropped to his knees beside her, careful not to startle her. Hey, it's okay. I'm here now. My name's Noah. What happened? Who did this to you?" The woman's lips trembled, her voice a fragile thread. "Irina. My name is Irina. Please, you have to get me out of here." Noah reached for the chains, inspecting them. They were heavy and rusted, but clearly strong. "I need something to break these," he said. "Do you know who did this to you?" She nodded slowly, her breath catching. "Yes. They said I was running from destiny, that I had to marry him, that if I refused, I'd pay the price." Noah's brows drew together in concern. Who? Who are they? His family. They're old, powerful. He's rich, very rich, but twisted. I ran on the day of the wedding. They hunted me down, like an animal. Noah felt his stomach churn. This was not just some bizarre accident. This was something darker. He glanced over his shoulder, as if expecting someone to step out of the trees at any moment. "I have a daughter nearby," he whispered. "I need to get you out of these chains, and we need to get out of here fast." Irina shook her head, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. "No, if you make noise, if you let them hear, they'll find us both. They're watching. Always watching." Noah looked into her eyes, seeing not just fear but a depth of trauma that made his chest tighten. "I won't let that happen," he said firmly. "I promise." He pulled out his multi-tool, the only thing he had on him. It was not meant for this kind of job, but he began working at the chains anyway, his fingers steady despite the rising tension. Irina's breathing grew rapid. She clutched at the base of the tree with her free hand. "Please, you do not understand. If they find me, they will drag me back, like a beast, like a caged animal." Her voice cracked on the last word, and Noah's hands paused. Her fear was real, tangible, not just of pain, but of complete loss, of self, of freedom, of hope. "I'm not going to let them take you," he said, softer this time. "But you have to trust me. Can you do that?" She nodded, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Noah worked faster now, the metal biting back at his hands. The forest felt thicker around them, the silence oppressive. Every snap of a twig made them both jump, but Noah did not stop. He would not stop. Because this woman, chained and bloodied, was not just a stranger anymore. She was someone's daughter, someone's friend, and now she was under his protection. And in the distance, Lily's laughter floated faintly through the trees, innocent, untouched. Noah glanced toward the sound and then back at Irina. Time was running out. Noah drove with one hand on the wheel and the other resting gently on the passenger seat, where Irina sat, wrapped in his jacket, silent and trembling. The truck bounced gently along the dirt road leading away from the forest, the sky outside turning a soft amber as the sun began its descent. Lily, buckled in the back seat, watched Irina with a quiet curiosity, sensing something different about this woman her father had just rescued. The drive to the farm felt longer than usual, heavy with unspoken fears and questions, but Noah kept his eyes forward, glancing at Irina only when the truck's headlights flickered against her pale skin, catching the shimmer of dried tears and bruises. When they arrived, Noah helped her into the house, guiding her gently to the couch in the cozy living room. The farmhouse was modest but warm, filled with wooden furniture, framed pictures, and the soft scent of cinnamon from the potpourri Lily liked to scatter around. "I'll get the first aid kit," Noah said, leaving her for a moment. Irina sat still, her fingers digging into the jacket's sleeves, eyes darting around the room as if she still expected someone to burst through the door. The room was too calm, too safe. It was almost unfamiliar. When Noah returned, he knelt beside her with practiced care. As he cleaned and dressed the wounds on her wrists and ankles, Irina flinched but said nothing, only watching him with cautious eyes. "You're good at this," she murmured, her voice hoarse. "I used to be a medic before—" He trailed off, taping down the last bandage. "Before you became a millionaire?" she asked, a hint of dry humor cutting through the fear. Noah chuckled softly. "Yeah, life's strange like that. What about you? What's your story?" Irina exhaled deeply, resting her head against the back of the couch. "I was supposed to marry a man named Thomas," she said, her voice low and even. "Comes from old money. Very old. He is powerful, connected in ways most people cannot imagine. I thought I could just leave when I said no, but they made it clear my refusal was an insult." She paused, fingers clenching. "They came for me the night before the wedding, said I had to learn obedience, that he chose me, and no one says no to a Langston." Noah's brows knit together. He knew the Langston name, real estate tycoons, whispered about in business circles, feared more than admired. "They change you like an animal," he said, voice low with anger. Irina nodded. "They said it was symbolic, that I needed to understand my place." Silence settled over them again, heavy and painful. Lily, sitting cross-legged on the floor with her favorite picture book, looked up and smiled at Irina. "You're really pretty," she said shyly. Irina blinked, surprised. "Thank you, sweetheart." Lily crawled closer, offering a flower she had picked earlier from the forest. "This is for you. I thought it looked lonely all by itself, but now it has a friend." Irina stared at the flower in her hand, her lips parting slightly. It was a small yellow wildflower, its petals slightly torn. Still, it was beautiful. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice catching. Noah watched as Irina's eyes shimmered. There was something raw and vulnerable in that moment, something he recognized. The ache of being wanted for who you are, not for what you can offer. The comfort of a child's simple, unconditional acceptance. "She does that," Noah said quietly. "Makes people feel like they belong." "I never had this," Irina said after a long pause. "Family, warmth, a home. Everything I knew was marble floors and cold glances. Affection only came with conditions." Noah nodded, understanding more than he let on. "You're safe here, I promise." She looked at him then, eyes sharp despite her exhaustion. "Do you understand what you are saying? If they find out I'm here, they won't just come for me." "I know," Noah said, "but I made a promise the moment I found you. I don't break promises." Irina studied him for a long time, then nodded slowly. For the first time since he met her, her shoulders eased, just a little. Lily leaned against her father's side, yawning. "Can she stay with us, Daddy?" Noah smiled softly. "For now, she's our guest, and we take care of our guests." Irina looked at Lily again, this tiny symbol of love and resilience, and something inside her began to shift. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to hope. The days that followed brought calm but never true peace. Irina never removed her shoes. No matter how soft the rug, how warm the sun that spilled through the farmhouse windows, she kept her sneakers laced tight, mud-crusted, ready. At night, while Noah read bedtime stories to Lily, Irina sat near the window, eyes flicking to the tree line beyond the fence. She memorized every creak of the floorboards, every shadow the moon cast on the porch, every shadow the moon cast on the back door, the garage, the shed behind the barn. She cataloged each as a potential escape route. She was not delusional nor paranoid in the traditional sense. She was surviving. Her mind, sharp and methodical, operated like a soldier's in enemy territory. She counted the minutes it took to reach the truck from every room. She slept in short bursts, her back always to a wall. At any sudden noise, her eyes snapped open, breath held until the silence returned. Noah noticed, but he said nothing. Instead, he built around her a quiet sanctuary, no questions, no pressure. Just warmth, patience, coffee left on the kitchen table, clean towels folded on the bathroom counter, a stocked pantry, a ready smile. He wanted her to heal, not hurry, and slowly, Irina responded. She did not flinch when Noah passed her a plate. She no longer stiffened when Lily crawled into her lap with a drawing. She began helping with breakfast, folding laundry, even humming faintly as she cleaned dishes by the sink. Trust was a fragile thing, but it was forming, layer by layer. One evening, the sky painted in strokes of lavender and gold. Lily asked if she could feed the chickens. Noah nodded from the porch. "Just stay near the coop, Peanut." Lily grinned and bounded off, her little boots kicking up dust. Irina stood by the railing, watching the field. "She's fearless," she murmured. Noah looked at her, his eyes gentle. "She's a lot like her mother was." A shadow passed Irina's face. "Is she gone?" Noah nodded slowly. "Car accident, 5 years ago." Irina said nothing for a moment, then offered a soft, "I'm sorry." "She would have liked you," Noah. She had a way of seeing through people's scars. Irina looked down at her hands, then to the horizon, where Lily's figure bounced in the tall grass. Minutes passed. Then they heard it, a scream. Noah's heart dropped. "Lily?" He sprinted down the steps, Irina just behind him, but when they reached the coop, Lily was not there. She was right there," Noah muttered, his voice tight. "Lily," Irina screamed, her voice slicing through the still evening air. She began running, frantically darting between trees, around the shed, her breathing erratic. "Lily, answer me!" Noah tried to calm her. "Irina, wait!" She might have gone back around, but Irina could not hear him. Her hands clawed at shrubs, eyes wild. "No, no, no, not again!" "Irina," Noah grabbed her shoulders. "Look at me." She struggled against him, sobbing. "They took her, just like they took my sister. She was only 10. They said she wandered too far and she never came back, and I could not save her. The floodgate broke. Noah froze, realization hitting him like a punch to the chest. Irina collapsed to her knees, her cries raw and unfiltered, hands in her hair. "I cannot do this again. I cannot lose another child. I promise you," Noah said, kneeling with her. "We're going to find her. But you're not alone, not this time." Just then they heard it, a rustle, then a soft, guilty voice. "I'm sorry." Lily emerged from behind a haystack, her arms wrapped around a stray kitten she had been chasing. Irina let out a shuddering sob of relief. She rushed forward, wrapping Lily in her arms, holding her so tightly the girl squeaked. "I was just trying to save her," Lily whispered. "She was cold." Irina nodded against her, tears falling freely. "You're safe. You're safe. Thank God." Noah watched as Irina clung to his daughter like she was the last solid thing in a collapsing world. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. He saw her, not just the fear, but the loss beneath it, the depth of her scars, and for the first time he truly understood. Irina was not just running from captivity, she was running from grief. The farmhouse was quiet, bathed in the warm, flickering glow of firelight. Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, but inside, a calm stillness had settled. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, curled up beneath a blanket with the stray kitten now named Clover nestled beside her. Noah and Irina sat in the kitchen, nursing mugs of tea. The steam curled upward, but neither of them moved to drink. Something hung in the air, unspoken, waiting. Irina stared at her reflection in the darkened window, her voice soft but steady. "You should know everything. You deserve to." Noah looked at her, silent, letting her lead. "Thomas Langston," she began, her fingers tightening around the mug, "is not just some spoiled heir. He is a man who has spent his entire life buying what he wants, and what he wanted was me." Her tone was devoid of drama, almost clinical. "I was 22. My mother had just died. I was alone, no family, no job. Thomas saw me at a gala I worked at as a server. He offered help, opportunity, said he saw potential in me." She gave a hollow smile. "What he saw was obedience." She paused, then continued. "At first, it was subtle. He gave me a place to stay, hired me a stylist, said it was all part of a mentorship. But soon, I had to ask for permission to leave the house. Friends disappeared. My phone was monitored. He would remind me, 'I saved you. I made you. Without me, you're nothing.'" Noah's jaw tensed. "That's not love. That's a prison." Irina nodded. "He used legal contracts, NDAs, property transfers, to tie everything back to him. Even my clothes were registered as his assets. When I tried to leave the first time, he had his lawyers threaten me, told me I'd disappear like others who forgot their place. And I believed him." Noah leaned forward. "Why you?" She hesitated, then answered. "Because I said no to him once, and Thomas Langston doesn't accept no. That made me his mission." A long breath escaped her. 2 years. I lived under cameras, guards, threats. He would shower me with gifts, then remind me I was nothing without him. The engagement was announced without asking me, the wedding date set. I played along because I was scared. She looked Noah dead in the eyes. "But the morning of the wedding, I saw my reflection in that dress. I saw a stranger, and something snapped. I ran. I knew I would not survive if I stayed." Noah swallowed hard, the weight of her words hitting like a stone. "And that's when they caught you?" She nodded. "In the woods. I tried to get to a bus station. I had a fake ID, cash hidden, but someone tipped them off. They dragged me back. I think they were going to keep me hidden until after the wedding and force a photo op, make it seem like I agreed after all." She closed her eyes. "I managed to slip the cuffs when the guards left. I ran again. That's when you found me." Noah reached across the table, gently placing his hand over hers. "You do not ever have to go back." Tears welled in her eyes. "You do not understand. Thomas will not stop. He will hunt me and anyone who helps me. He needs to make an example of me. I'm the bride who got away. That's not a story he can let exist." "I do understand," Noah said, voice firm. "I know what men like him are capable of. But I also know this, he has never met someone like me, and I will not let him win." Irina looked at him, emotion flooding her features. "Why? Why risk everything?" "Because you are not a possession," Noah said. "You're a person. And more than that, you're someone Lily already loves, someone I care about." Her breath caught. She looked away, then back at him, as if trying to hold the moment still. "I don't want to pull anyone down with me," she whispered. "I've spent so long running, expecting betrayal at every turn, but if there is anyone who has made me believe in people again, it's you." Noah's heart clenched. "I'm not a savior," he said, "but I will stand beside you, whatever comes. That's a promise." She nodded, the tear finally falling. And in the silence that followed, something shifted between them, something powerful, fragile, and unbreakable all at once. The days stretched into weeks, and the stillness of the countryside wrapped Irina in a kind of peace she had never known. The farmhouse, once unfamiliar and full of shadows, began to feel like a home. She no longer slept with her shoes on. The doors were still locked, but she no longer checked them 5 times a night. Slowly, she began to breathe again, not in fear, but in rhythm with the wind through the fields and the quiet hum of life around her. Noah gave her space, never rushing her, never asking for more than she was ready to give. He simply made her coffee in the morning, left a flower from the garden at her place at the table, smiled when she laughed. And she had begun to laugh, soft, uncertain at first, but real. Lily adored her. They spent afternoons in the kitchen, where Irina taught the girl to bake chocolate chip cookies, her hands covered in flour as Lily giggled beside her. She started planting a garden behind the house. At first, it was just herbs, basil, mint, rosemary. Then came tomatoes, beans, and peppers. Noah helped her dig the soil, and Lily painted the plant markers with bright colors. The garden, like Irina, began to grow roots. One evening, as the 3 of them sat on the porch watching the fireflies blink across the fields, Irina turned to Noah. "I never thought I could feel this again. Not peace, not joy, not this." Noah looked at her, his voice gentle. "Neither did I." There was a quiet between them, thick with unspoken thoughts. Finally, Noah broke the silence. "I haven't told you everything," he said. "About me, about Lily's mom." Irina tilted her head, waiting. "She was my first love. We married young, too young. I thought we had everything, but she had other plans, other people." He rubbed his thumb along the edge of his coffee mug. "When she left, she didn't just walk out on me, she left Lily too. Said the world was too small here. Said we were holding her back." Irina's heart clenched. "I'm so sorry. I was angry for a long time, not just at her but at myself, for not seeing it, for believing in something that wasn't real." He glanced at her, his eyes soft. "I stopped trusting women, stopped letting anyone get close." "But you let me in," she whispered. "I did," he said, "because you didn't ask to be here, because you were honest, even when it hurt, and because I see you, not what happened to you, just you." Tears welled in her eyes, but she smiled through them. "And I see you too, Noah." That night, they lingered on the porch long after the stars had come out, their hands brushing as they sat side by side, not needing to rush the moment, just letting it unfold. But peace, as they both knew, is a fragile thing. A few days later, just before sunset, a delivery truck pulled into the driveway. Noah stepped out to greet the driver, who handed him a white garment bag and a small ivory envelope. "It's for Miss Irina," the man said, then drove away. Noah frowned, the weight of the bag familiar and wrong. He brought it inside and found Irina in the kitchen with Lily, pulling a tray of cookies from the oven. The smell of vanilla and chocolate filled the room. "This just came for you," he said, setting the items on the counter. Irina's smile faltered the moment she saw the bag. Her hands began to tremble. She reached for the envelope first. It was sealed with a wax stamp, the Langston family crest. Her name was written in looping, elegant handwriting she recognized all too well. With trembling fingers, she opened it. A single card slid out, but read, "You can play house in the dirt for as long as you want, but you know how this ends. You belong to me. Try to run again and I will chain you in front of the world. Consider this your wedding dress. Round 2. Irina stared at the letter as her breath caught in her throat. Then, almost mechanically, she unzipped the garment bag. Inside was a new wedding dress, sleek, luxurious, the exact style she had once described in passing to Thomas years ago. He had remembered, he had waited, and now he was reminding her. She was still his. The room blurred. Her knees gave out. Noah caught her before she hit the floor. "I've got you," he whispered, holding her against his chest. She clutched the letter, her body racked with sobs. "He's never going to stop," she cried. "He'll find me. He'll hurt you. He'll take everything. I thought I could start over, but I was wrong. I was so wrong." Noah pulled her closer, his voice firm. "No, Irina, you are not his. You are not property. You are not powerless. We will face this. Together." "But you have a child," she whispered. "You have everything to lose." He touched her face gently, lifting her chin until their eyes met. Then let me lose it for the right reason. And in that moment, wrapped in his arms, tears on her cheeks, Irina felt her heart, damaged, guarded, worn, begin to beat with hope again. The morning sun streamed through the lace curtains, casting golden shapes on the farmhouse floor. Irina stood by the window, clutching a mug of cold tea. She was not watching the sunrise. She was staring down her past. "I'm not going to run anymore," she said quietly, her voice stronger than it had been in years. Noah approached and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Are you sure?" She turned to face him. "Running never set me free. It only kept me alone. If I want to truly live, if I want Lily to grow up knowing the truth, I have to stop hiding. I want him exposed. I want people to see who he really is." And so, with the help of Evelyn Cartwright, Noah's friend and a fierce attorney known for toppling giants, they built a plan. Irina would invite Thomas to the farmhouse, pretending to surrender. Wearing a hidden recording device, she would push him to confess. Officers would wait just outside, ready the moment they had what they needed. It was dangerous. But Irina was done being afraid. The day arrived. Irina wore a soft sweater and jeans. Her hands trembled beneath the table, but her face was calm. Lily had been sent to safety. Evelyn waited in the corner, her phone connected to the feed. Noah remained close, watching with quiet strength. At noon, a sleek black car rolled up the dirt road. Out stepped Thomas Langston, immaculate, confident, cold. Irina met him on the porch. "Irina," he said smoothly, spreading his arms. "You look rustic." She didn't flinch. "You came alone?" He smirked. "Do I need backup to talk to my fiancé?" "We were never engaged," she said firmly. Thomas shrugged, stepping closer. "I forgive you. You're scared. This whole act, this farm life, you'll get over it." He reached for her hand. She stepped back. "You do not get to forgive me," she said. "You caged me, controlled me. That's not love, it's obsession." Thomas's expression darkened. "Everything I gave you, every dress, every diamond, that was me caring for you. You just didn't understand how the world works." Irina kept her voice calm. The wire beneath her shirt caught every word. "I know what you did to the others, Thomas, the ones who disappeared," he sneered. "You think anyone would believe a runaway over me? I am a Langston." "Then prove it," she said. "Say it, admit it." His smile faded. His voice dropped to a hiss. "Fine. I bought you. I bought your life, and if you ever pull something like this again, I'll bury you so deep the world will forget you existed." Then, with sudden fury, he lunged forward. "You think you can trap me, you—" Before he could finish, Noah burst through the door, tackling Thomas hard. The two men crashed to the ground, fists flying, but Noah pinned him quickly, years of training kicking in. Sirens erupted in the distance. Officers swarmed the property within seconds, shouting commands. Evelyn stepped forward, holding up the recording. "We got it all, every word." Thomas writhed beneath Noah, his power dissolving by the second. Irina stood over him, steady and unshaken. "It's over. The world's going to see who you really are." As officers dragged him away, screaming and struggling, Irina turned to Noah. Her breath came in shudders, her hands still shaking. He opened his arms, and she collapsed into them, not broken, not afraid, free. The arrest of Thomas Langston sent shockwaves through the nation. Within 24 hours, his face was on every news outlet. Headlines blared, "Billionaire businessman arrested in explosive abuse scandal." Video clips of him being led away in cuffs played on repeat across television screens and social media feeds. But the most powerful stories did not come from the media. They came from the women. One by one, survivors stepped forward. Voices that had been silenced by fear or buried beneath legal threats now rose in chorus. Former assistants, ex-fiancés, even household staff all shared chillingly similar stories of manipulation, control, and cruelty. The pattern was undeniable. Thomas Langston had operated in the shadows for years, believing himself untouchable. Not anymore. Thanks to the recording, Irina risked everything to capture. The legal case against him was airtight. Evelyn, the attorney, worked tirelessly to secure not just protection for Irina, but rights for every survivor involved. Irina was granted full anonymity in the proceedings, a legal shield that allowed her to speak without fear of retaliation. She also retained the right to press civil charges, should she choose to. But more than legal victories, what Irina gained was peace. Life on the farm returned to its gentle rhythm. The garden she once planted in cautious silence now bloomed in vibrant rows. She walked barefoot on the porch in the morning sun, humming to herself as she made breakfast, and every day Lily raced to her side with drawings, stories, and flower-covered fingers from their latest kitchen adventure. "You're not scared anymore," Lily said one morning, peeking up at Irina with wide eyes. Irina knelt beside her, brushing a curl from her cheek. "No, sweetheart, I'm not." "Good," Lily said, hugging her tightly, "because I like this Irina best." Noah watched the exchange from the doorway, his heart swelling with a quiet joy he had not felt in years. Irina was not just healing, she was blooming, and in the quiet way of real love, his feelings had deepened with every day she stayed. There were no grand declarations, no burning confessions, just steady, certain steps toward each other, until they were no longer walking side by side, but hand in hand. The two of them carried it in silence as they walked in the park. For them, this was where the soul burned, hand in hand. Then, one evening, just as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in soft peach and lavender, Irina called Noah to the old oak tree near the garden. It was the same tree where, months ago, she had planted her first seeds with trembling hands. Now, it stood tall and serene, a silent witness to all that had passed. Noah approached, curious, wiping his hands on his jeans. Irina was standing beneath the branches, holding something small in her fingers. Her expression was calm, but her eyes shimmered in the fading light. "I want to show you something," she said. He stopped in front of her, and she gently took his hand. From her pocket she pulled a piece of old rope, frayed, weathered, and unmistakable. Noah froze, recognizing it immediately. "It's from the chains," she said softly. "The ones you cut when you found me. I kept a piece." He stared at it, his throat tightening. "I kept it," she continued, "not to remember the pain, but to remember the moment I chose to fight, to run, to live." Her voice trembled slightly, but she smiled. "And today, I want to turn it into something else." She looped the rope around his wrist, tying it gently. Her hands didn't shake. "Noah," she said, eyes never leaving his, "you found me when I was broken. You saw me not as a victim, but as someone worth saving. You gave me space to heal and the love to believe again. So now I'm choosing—" She took a breath, steady and sure. "I choose freedom, and I choose you." Noah's breath caught. Tears pricked the corners of his eyes, and for a long moment he said nothing. Then he reached for her hand, lifted it to his lips and whispered, "Then I choose you too." They stood beneath the oak tree, the rope tied between them not as a symbol of bondage, but of rebirth. And as the wind rustled the leaves above them, the past finally let go. Irina had once been chained. Now she was free. And she had found her forever. The forest was alive that morning, but not with fear. Birdsong danced through the treetops, and golden light filtered through the leaves, scattering dappled shadows on the ground below. In the very clearing where months ago Irina had been chained, bleeding, broken, and terrified, there now stood a small wooden archway wrapped in ivy and wildflowers, built by Noah's hands. Beneath it, two lives would join, not out of obligation, not from power or control, but by choice. Pure, sacred choice. The air smelled of pine and hope. Chairs were arranged in a simple half-circle around the arch, filled with only the closest of friends, those who had witnessed their journey. No opulence, no media, no pretense. Just truth. Irina stepped onto the forest path, her arm linked with Lily's, who carried a small basket overflowing with petals. Her dress was not what fashion magazines would call couture. It was soft ivory linen, flowing and free, stitched with care by a seamstress who understood the soul behind the request. The dress moved with her, light and graceful, reflecting the woman she had become, grounded, radiant, and whole. Lily ran ahead, tossing petals into the air with sheer joy, giggling as they landed in soft arcs along the path. "Hurry, Irina," she called over her shoulder. "Daddy's waiting." Irina laughed, her voice clear and bright, the kind of laugh she never thought would live in her again. Each step forward was a silent triumph. Every tree that once loomed as a witness to her pain now stood as a testament to her healing. At the end of the aisle stood Noah, in a simple shirt and vest, his eyes never leaving hers. When their gazes met, everything else fell away. He took her hand as she reached him, and they stood beneath the arch in silence for a moment, just breathing, just smiling. Then Erina turned to their small gathering, her voice steady but full of emotion. "There was a time," she began, "when I believed freedom was just about escape, about distance, about running fast enough so no one could catch me." She looked around, her eyes pausing on the tree where the rusted chains had once hung. "But I learned something here," she continued. "I learned that true freedom isn't running, it's choosing. Choosing to love even when your heart has known hurt, choosing to trust even after betrayal, choosing to stay when every fear tells you to leave." She turned to Noah, her hand finding his. "I choose you," she said, "not because I need saving, but because when I saved myself, you were there, waiting with open arms. You taught me that the past may shape us, but it does not define us, and that love, real love, is not possession, it's partnership. It's peace." Noah's voice was thick with emotion as he replied, "And I choose you, not in spite of your past, but because of your strength, your truth, your fire. You've taught me how to believe again, in love, in loyalty, in something that lasts." Lily clapped and cheered, running to hug them both before the final words were spoken. When the vows were complete, when the first kiss as husband and wife had been shared beneath the canopy of the forest, the guests rose in applause. But for Erina and Noah, the loudest sound was their hearts beating together, finally unchained. The sun climbed higher, spilling warm light through the branches as the small gathering moved into a quiet celebration. There was no band, no ballrooms, just a wooden table laid with simple food, laughter echoing through the woods, and the soft strum of a guitar played by one of Noah's old friends. As the sun dipped lower, casting the clearing in amber, Noah helped Irina onto the back of a chestnut horse, Lily already perched in front. He climbed up behind them, wrapping his arms around the two women who had come to mean everything. With a gentle nudge, the horse stepped forward, hooves crunching over leaves and memories. They rode slowly through the forest, past the old oak tree, past the shadows that once swallowed Erina whole. But this time, the darkness did not feel threatening. This time, light streamed through every corner. Erina leaned into Noah's chest, her hand holding Lily's. She had been chained, she had been hunted, she had been hurt. But now she was free. And freedom had never looked more beautiful. As the final rays of sunlight kissed the forest floor, and the sound of hooves faded gently into the golden hush of evening, one truth remained. Love, when chosen freely, becomes the most powerful force of all. Irina's journey was not just about survival. It was about reclaiming her voice, her life, and her heart. From the shadows of captivity to the light of a love built on trust and truth, she found her freedom not by running, but by standing still and choosing to love again. And in doing so, she didn't just change her story, she wrote a new one. If this story touched your heart, made you believe in hope, or reminded you that healing is possible, please take a moment to subscribe to Soul Stirring Stories. Here, we share powerful, emotional journeys that uplift, inspire, and remind us all of the strength within the human spirit. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes, the most beautiful stories begin right where everything once fell apart.